Welcome to the Road to the Final Score presented by Bet365. I'm Troy DeCirco, joined alongside some college basketball analysts and my friends Mike Calabrese, Tanner McGrath, here to break down UConn versus Alabama. Can anyone take down Connecticut is the question. We're going to give out, each of us are going to give out a favorite bet of this game. And I don't know if we'll side with UConn. Well, you'll see. Mike, where are you heading first?
Well, let's get the elephant out of the room right away. UConn did not have the smoothest travel across country going from the East Coast to Phoenix. They end up getting there in the middle of the night. Their sleep cycle's off. Could they come out a little sluggish? I'm hoping so, because I'm going with a halftime, full-time result here. Alabama in the lead at half, UConn to win the game, 6-1 payout. Now, Alabama has been a great first half team the entire season. They're second nationally in first half points per game at nearly 43, and UConn just closes teams out ruthlessly, time and time again. They led the nation in second half scoring margin at plus 8.4 points per game. And you got to keep in mind, they did so while emptying their bench. If they have their starters in the second half in a game when, hopefully for this bet to cash, they're down at halftime, I think you could see them run away late from an Alabama team that is so reliant on the three-point shot. I think in a small sample size, like the first 20 minutes, that's going to trend in our favor. All they have to do is knock down 5 or 6 threes, and they'll be able to blitz UConn out of the gates. But when it comes to the pivotal second half court battle, key buckets, key stops, UConn has it in spades in terms of every single metric pointing in their direction. 2-point defense, they're second nationally in terms of shooting percentage in the country. 3-point defense, 28th. And as our friend here, Tanner, broke down, their offense has a million ways to beat you in the half court. They're not a team that's going to rely on the three-point shot. If those shots are falling, that's an added bonus. If they need to manufacture buckets, if they need to run through their offense, screens, all these other things that they do, the bells and whistles that make their offense look so seamless, they'll get it done against an Alabama team that, in my opinion, is a one-trick pony. So I'll go ahead with the double result here. I've held off for much of the season. It's one of my favorite exotics to put up there. At 6-1, I think this is great value. I'd play it at anywhere north of plus 500. So I'm going to go ahead with that here for my play in the national semifinal.
Yeah, a lot of variance at play here with Alabama and their three-point shooting. And we did see UConn come out slow against Illinois. It was, I believe, UConn barely led at halftime, and Illinois played better than UConn did in the first half before a 30-0 run absolutely shattered the Illini hearts. But Tanner, your best bets, you're looking at a side here, a brave soul, if you will, betting a side here in what has been an interesting double-digit margin here. You bet in UConn minus 12, or are you taking the dog with Bama?
I'm on UConn. And look, Mark Sears is amazing. He's a true killer. Aaron Estrada, too. Grant Nelson has had some unbelievable moments during this run. Alabama's lucky to be here. They are. And look, that's fine. That's fine. Everyone needs their four-leaf clover to make a Final Four run. But during this four-game tournament run, Bama has shot 42% from three on 30 attempts per game, most recently dropping in 16 of 36 against Clemson. That's a cool 46%. Meanwhile, their opponents have shot 28% from three on 28 attempts per game. And more shocking, 68% from the line on 25 attempts per game. Clemson shot 8 for 16 from the line in their 7-point Elite Eight loss. There's just all sorts of looming regression. I can't help but think that the Tide are just like a little juiced here, a little overvalued, a little just due for so much regression. And my original statement does need some amending. Everyone needs a little luck to make a Final Four run, unless you're UConn. The Huskies have shot 25 for 89 from three during this four-game run. That's 28%. But as Breeze alluded to, Dan Hurley has built an unstoppable offense. It's a pattern motion offense. Everything revolves around stagger screens to pop open shooters. You know, stagger screen on the right, stagger screen on the left, repeat. But if you can't get the shots, or the shots aren't falling, as they haven't been, UConn can seamlessly flow into a billion other actions. And during this specific run, when shots aren't falling, they flowed into a lot of like high pick and roll sets with Tristan Newton and slips, cuts, and post-up sets with Donovan Glingen. So while they haven't hit a three, they've scored over 50 paint points in 3 of 4 tournament wins. They're only averaging 38 paint points per game on the year. This type of elaborate, variable, versatile motion offense basically makes the Huskies impossible to stop in a tournament format, because they're tough to prep for on short rest and are less vulnerable to the inherent variance of the tournament's one-and-done structure. And here are 2 separate points that I'm going to kind of bring together. UConn runs a drop coverage defense with the dominant Kling Kong patrolling the paint, protecting the rim, while everyone else overplays ball handlers on the perimeter and shooters on the wings. So the Huskies are a really good rim defense and an excellent three-point denial defense. They're top 50 nationally in three-point rate allowed, top 40 in three-point attempts per game allowed, top 20 in catch and shoot opportunities allowed. And meanwhile, Nate Oates has pretty much abandoned any attempt at rim protection and rebounding by leaning into small ball lineups with Rylan Griffin at the 4. It makes them near unstoppable on offense. But Nate Oates everyone knows this, he plays a rim and 3 analytically friendly offense that will be running its rim and 3 offense into a dominant rim and 3 defense. And of course, their small ball lineup makes them super vulnerable to UConn's ability to just destroy the paint, dominate the rim, and crash the boards with Newton and Klingon. Alabama, they run a drop coverage defense with no ability to protect the rim. That's a disaster waiting to happen. So I basically see too many avenues to a blowout for UConn. A, UConn can just demolish Alabama in the paint. B, UConn sees any amount of positive shooting regression on offense, or Alabama sees negative shooting regression on defense, and the Huskies turn into a larger-than-life offensive wagon with efficient three-point shooting. Or C, Alabama finally sees negative three-point shooting regression on offense against the defense that's highly efficient at preventing good three-point looks. And look, the Tide might abandon trying to rim run it, clinging it all together, and just jack up threes, especially after what Illinois did. And I just doubt that they make them at a 45% clip for the 5th straight game. And none of this includes 2 very key points, which are UConn is an awesome transition denial defense, which is key against the up-tempo Tide. And B, UConn is an awesome offensive rebounding and second chance scoring team, which will lead to endless buckets against a team that cannot rebound. And this is funny because it's like an unstoppable force meets an immovable object for me, which is me backing UConn and winning and fading Alabama and losing. But I have to imagine Bama finally sees some more typical shooting splits and loses, while UConn seems basically largely immune to these atypical split games. And just to close this out, if I were looking at props, I'm probably targeting Klingon just because Alabama's rim protection and rebounding is a disaster. And you all saw what he did to Illinois in a similar script. I think he could do the same thing here. And I don't think that Oates is going to try and attack him like Underwood did and try to get him into foul trouble. So I think he gets a lot of minutes of volume in this game, and actually in the national championship game too, if they make it there.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was looking to see if I should take the Klingon under. I thought that maybe the rebounding wise, he might have some success, but given the high paced nature of Alabama, I'm not so sure he'll be able to be held under double digit rebounds here. But I think UConn's aside either way. At the end of the day, you can't bet against them unless it's the first half. We'll see what the variance there. But all right, before I give my picks, Drew, want to remind everybody that these picks are presented by Bet365. Bet365 doesn't do ordinary. That's why you get more boosts with them than with anyone else. Every day, they power up odds on hundreds of bets to give you a chance to win more. Bet365 boosts specific markets, your winnings, and even parlays, and they don't stop there. Keep an eye out for their biggest and best odds with the incredible Super Boost. Check out the boost and see why it's never ordinary at Bet365. 21 plus only, or 18 plus in Kentucky and present in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Iowa, Kentucky, Louisiana, New Jersey, North Carolina, Ohio, Virginia. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER in Colorado, Indiana, Kentucky, Louisiana, New Jersey, North Carolina, Ohio, Virginia, or 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. Terms and conditions and restrictions apply. All right. My best bet kind of goes back with the whole UConn being able to find success on the offensive end and absolutely attack a deteriorating Alabama 2-point defense. And that's Tristan Newton over 5.5 assists, rather, minus 145 at Bet365. I think Donovan Klingon is going to find all the success inside. I'm not sure they have a body that can stop him unless they foul him and force him to make free throws, which then you're just asking for every single Alabama big man to get taken out of the game because of foul trouble. This is an up-tempo game where we're going to see a lot of possessions, and we've seen UConn. Their offense is so dominant, they can slow things down, but they're also one of the better transition offenses as well. You can't really stop this team unless they're having bad shooting days. And even when they're having bad shooting days, they're blowing out teams like Illinois. Tanner mentioned it. The 3-point regression, I think, could hit in this game, in a high-paced game against Alabama. So Newton, the primary facilitator, the guy who always has the ball in his hands, is going to find open shooters. And I mentioned it. Alabama's 2-point defense ranks around 200th in the country. They have one of the worst defenses in the last month when it comes to Power 5 teams that were in the NCAA tournament. They're around 300th in turnover rates, so it's not like UConn is going to force turnovers, give fast break opportunities to Alabama on the other end. I think we're going to see sustained possessions, a lot of looks inside. And given the poor shooting, we've seen UConn have 3 of 17 from 3 against Illinois, 3 of 22 against Northwestern. Put that with a good game against San Diego State. They're still just 25% from the perimeter. I'm going to buy low on Tristan Newton after 2 games where he's been held under 6 assists. Think that he goes over this number, which he did in 4 of 4. Think he's even a triple-double threat if you want to get even crazier on that front. But those would be our best bets. I'm on Tristan Newton over assists. Tanner backing the UConn Huskies, and Mike Calabrese hoping there's some variance that goes in the first half. Alabama money line in the first, UConn in the second, plus 600 if UConn ends up victorious there. So that'll have it. Those are our best bets. Best of luck on the action. Enjoy the Final Four, and we'll see you again on Monday.